If you haven't heard of Greta Thunberg, then I expect you live under a rock. Thunberg is the teen climate change activist, who has been described as a role model for worldwide activism. She rose to fame for initiating the school climate change strike that formed in November 2018, and then went global after the 24 Colombian Pesos conference in December the same year. Now, the flag bearer for the climate change protest generation has pledged her allegiance to Extinction Rebellion, the latest climate change movement to take place in London. Extinction Rebellion have been demonstrating in London since Monday, April 15, to encourage the UK government to do more about climate change. As part of their protests, they've planted trees, glued themselves to stationary trains, and disrupted travel near Heathrow Airport, reports the BBC. In honor of her untiring commitment to action on climate change, here are some of Thunberg's most hard-hitting speeches. 1. Speaking at the Extinction Rebellion, Marble Arch, London. On Sunday, April 21, Greta Thunberg joined the Extinction Rebellion protests in London, where she spoke to a packed crowd gathered at London's Marble Arch, saying "Keep going. You are making a difference," and eliciting supportive cheers from those gathered. She didn't mince her words, saying, "For way too long the politicians and people in power have got away with not doing anything at all to fight the climate crisis and ecological crisis. But we will make sure they will not get away with it any longer." She also said she hoped people in attendance would follow the protesters' example. "Humanity is now standing at a crossroads. We must now decide which path we want to take. How do we want the future living conditions for all living species to be like? We have gathered here today, and in many other places throughout London and across the world too. We have gathered today because we have chosen which path we want to take, and now we are waiting for the others to follow our example." 2. Speech at the EU Parliament in Strasbourg. Speaking to EU leaders at the EU Parliament in Strasbourg on Tuesday, 16 April, an emotional Thunberg, who even broke into tears at points during her speech, criticized leaders for not taking the threat posed by climate change seriously enough. "If our house was falling apart, our leaders wouldn't go on like we do today. If our house was falling apart, you wouldn't hold 3 emergency Brexit summits and no emergency summit regarding the breakdown of the climate and the environment." 3. World Economic Forum in Davos. "Our house is on fire. I am here to say our house is on fire. According to the IPCC, we are less than 12 years away from not being able to undo our mistakes. In that time, unprecedented changes in all aspects of society needs to have taken place, including a reduction of our CO2 emissions by at least 50%, and please note that those numbers do not include the aspect of equity, which is absolutely necessary to make the Paris Agreement work on a global scale. Nor does it include tipping points or feedback loops like the extreme powerful methane gas being released from the thawing Arctic permafrost." 4. Speech at TEDx Stockholm. Thunberg addressed the TEDx Stockholm audience in 2018, focusing on the fact that she learned at a young age that there was a lapse in what climate change activists were saying, and in the actions being taken by people in society. In the address, she didn't hold back, imploring people for action, not just hope. "So instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. Today we use 100 million barrels of oil every single day. There are no politics to change that. There are no rules to keep that oil in the ground, so we can't save the world by playing by the rules. Because the rules have to be changed. Everything needs to change. And it has to start today." 5. Speech to politicians in Brussels at the European Commission. In a characteristically no-holds-barred speech, she told adults that they can't just sit around, and that they're acting like spoiled, irresponsible children. "Go, Greta, you can't just sit around waiting for hope to come. Then you're acting like spoiled, irresponsible children. You don't seem to understand that hope is something that you have to earn. And if you still say that we are wasting valuable lesson time, then let me remind you that our political leaders have wasted decades through denial and inaction. And since our time is running out, we have started taking action.